Just dropping bombs on him right here. Nice elbow. Oh my goodness. Nice shot right there. Oh, he hurt him. He hurt him. He got him. So, oh my goodness.
That was the promo video for Showdown's next event out of Utah, November 16th. We are now on with the show's promoter, with Showdown's promoter, Scott Bowler. Scott, how you doing, bud?
I'm well. How are you?
I can't complain. You've had a pretty extensive career within MMA. You've fought for amateur organizations. You fought as a professional, and now you're a promoter. You kind of filled the hierarchy that most other professional fighters want to follow. What kind of made you get into want to start being a promoter after being a fighter?
You know, I think that I was always intrigued by the business aspect of the sport, and being able to provide a good quality show for my friends to fight in was really what started the whole thing.
Now, with you trying to find talent, how do you find the website like MMA Draft, and the importance of this website to come on as a promoter to be able to find the newest talent coming in and coming up from the amateur ranks?
Yeah, MMA Draft is just an incredible tool. It's a site that allows any promoter to go on in a one-stop shop, being able to find this amateur talent. In the past, what we've had to do is always go to the gyms and rely on trainers and some managers. With the amateur ranks, it's really difficult to rely on a manager, which is typically somebody's friend. But there's never been a one-stop shop like MMA Draft for you to find those athletes. The tool itself allows you to go on and set the parameters that you're looking for. A given region, a type of background. You can find these fighters and kind of narrow your search. This tool for promoters is completely revolutionary and an invaluable tool that I think will be used for years to come.
Besides there being so many more amateur promotions being out there, what is the major difference in the amateur sport that you've seen as it's gone for MMA? Like it's grown so much, but what else has happened? Like what have you seen differently now in amateur since you were competing as an amateur till now as a promoter looking for guys to make the jump?
Oh my gosh, the amateur athletes that are coming into the sport are so much better skilled. They're coming in with a deeper background, whether it be a wrestling base or even like submission grappling or a kickboxing base. These guys that are coming in now would have been great athletes in the professional ranks in the past. And these guys are coming in, gaining so much experience and ring awareness that it just hasn't been seen before. So when they actually make that transition to becoming a pro fighter, they are so much further ahead of the game, and they are really a more balanced fighter. Always in the past, we've seen fighters that have come in, starting in the pro ranks as a great wrestler or a great kickboxer, but they lack in those other skills. The guys that are coming in that have fought through the new amateur ranks and the new era of amateur ranks are coming in so much more well-rounded and so much better prepared for dealing with the rigors of being an amateur athlete or being a professional athlete as they make that transition.
What do you think is the most important discipline of these guys that are learning multiple sports? Like, what's the one thing they should know if you believe there's one that you should know more than the others?
Well, I think that there's definitely an advantage to the wrestlers. The wrestlers coming into the sport typically have multiple years of competition. If I could put my finger on one discipline, it would definitely be wrestling. They have that basis for being having that one-on-one competition that most others don't get the opportunity to have. They're already accustomed to the work ethic needed for the sport, and I think so. If it was one thing, I would say wrestling.
And as a former wrestler, I have to agree with you on that one too. So it definitely is for me. Wrestling is the control, and that the aspect of being able to control your opponent no matter what, and having hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of matches to be able to practice that technique really does help you out in MMA. Final question for you, Scott: how is somebody going to make the jump from amateur to pro? What does the amateur athlete need to do to make that jump into the pro leagues?
Well, for me, and I might have a different approach to this than some other promoters, and I get that question asked often by either managers or the athletes themselves, and I really find that it comes down to out of necessity in your given region. Some of these athletes will literally chew up all of the talent in their region, and there's nothing left for them to compete. Some other organizations out there, like the California Amateur Mixed Martial Arts Organization, CAMO, or some of the other sanctioning bodies that have amateur organizations, will set up a tournaments format where they will compete for state titles. Anybody who wins that or does well in those, they're probably at that point where they need to start looking at turning pro. But what happens is, I think when you run out of the opponents and the promotions in your given region aren't able to provide you that talent, and you've been winning those bouts, it's time to start looking at turning pro. That's what I use as my gauge as to when a fighter's ready to turn pro. There's guys out there that have fought 2 or 3 times, and there's nobody left for them to fight. They'd be taking lesser opponents if you can get them to agree to it. Right. But then there's those other athletes out there that have fought 10 or 12 times that are still learning. They still need that, and I think that's a case-by-case basis.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is Scott Bowler, the promoter for Showdown Fights out of Utah. I'm Frank Trigg here in the Don Best Studios in Las Vegas, and this is MMA Draft. We'll talk to you soon.